So, today we're going to deconstruct something fascinating, a modern persona. It's this archetype that's been shaped by all sorts of forces, from way back in ancient history right up to what you see on your social media feed. Our goal here is to really apply some critical thinking to these real-world pressures that are constantly shaping who we are, especially in this post-colonial, consumer-driven world we all live in. It often kicks off with a phrase like this, one that's just loaded with meaning. Do you know who my father is? And let's be real, that's not actually a question, is it? It's a statement. It's a declaration of power. It's someone saying their identity, their status, it all comes from a connection to someone powerful. This phrase right here, this is our doorway into a much, much bigger story. So, you have to ask, where does a mindset like that even come from? Because this isn't just some modern quirk. No, it's a behavioral pattern with incredibly deep historical and psychological roots. So let's start peeling back those layers together. Okay, so first, let's look at this persona as it exists right now. In many parts of the Arab world, a really distinct archetype has emerged. It's one where a woman's identity, her power, and really her whole sense of self-worth are pretty much forged by what she can buy. What you see here is an identity that's totally wrapped up in luxury brands. Owning these things, well, it translates directly into a kind of social currency, the ability to demand things like a more extravagant wedding or a bigger dowry. And this constant need for outside approval, it's been fueled for decades by Western media, from the glamour of Hollywood movies to sitcoms, all beamed right into people's homes. And this quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures how this whole thing works. Getting a Versace bag isn't just about the bag. It's about manufacturing a feeling of being elevated. The brand becomes this super potent symbol you use to build an identity and tell everyone what your status is. But here's the thing. To really get why this consumer model is so incredibly powerful, we've got to go way back. I'm talking way before the first luxury brand was even a thought. We need to explore the ancestral logic that shaped the collective mind. I want you to just imagine the harsh reality of the ancient Arabian Peninsula. Society is constantly on the move, right? Survival literally depends on the physical strength of the men to protect the tribe from nonstop raids. Now, in that kind of world, daughters were tragically seen as a vulnerability, a weak spot, a potential target for rival tribes. So the only way to stay safe, the only path to order, was absolute obedience to one central figure, the chieftain. He was the protector. And I want you to really get this. This is so much more than just a history lesson. This deep-seated logic, this instinct to find a powerful protector for safety, it's like an ancestral echo that you can still hear today. It helps explain this powerful dynamic of obedience to central rulers, a kind of social contract that's rooted in a survival instinct that goes way beyond just rational thought. All right, let's dig even deeper now. We're going way back to the pre-Islamic world of Mesopotamia and Sumeria, because it's here that we find these ancient archetypes that really cemented a powerful and long-lasting social hierarchy for women. So, in this ancient world, a woman's place was basically split in two. It was really black and white. If you were highborn, let's say a chieftain's daughter, your status was locked in because you were associated with a deity. You might become a high priestess, and through that connection, suddenly you had worth. You had influence. You could even own property. But if you were lowborn, your entire identity came from the person you served. You pretty much lived in servitude to the gods and their temples. Your protection came from that service. Okay, so this is the key takeaway, the big idea from this whole era. For thousands of years, the formula for survival and status was crystal clear. Attach yourself to a higher power. It could be an idol, a deity, a chieftain, whatever. Your worth was always external. And this became a deep psychological pattern passed down through the generations. All right, this is where it all comes together. We're going to connect all those historical threads to what's happening right now in our globalized, post-colonial market. This is where you see how these ancient patterns get a modern makeover for the world of commerce. And here it is. This is the core argument of our whole analysis. The machine of global consumerism, especially Western luxury brands, didn't just invent a new need out of thin air. No way. It brilliantly tapped into that ancient, pre-existing psychological void. The luxury brand has basically become the new, modern-day deity. So how does this actually work? Well, think about it. The brand's logo becomes the new idol. Buying these things is like a modern version of the ancient ritual of serving a deity to prove you're worthy. It offers this powerful, easy-to-access path to feeling highborn in a commercial world. And because this taps into such deep survival patterns, it works below the level of conscious choice. It becomes a deeply ingrained behavior, not just some idea you think about. So the big question is, are we just stuck in this pattern? Is it inescapable? Well, no, not at all. The source material points to a really powerful counterstory. It's the journey away from that collective identity, whether it's an ancient tradition or modern advertising, and toward an authentic individual self. And history actually gives us these incredible examples of people who chose a different way. Take Fatima al-Fihri. She was a wealthy, educated woman from what's now Tunisia. She didn't follow the usual script. She used her money and her knowledge not to boost her own status with external things, but to create something with lasting value for her entire community, the world's very first continuously operating university. You know, this incredible journey that Fatima al-Fihri went on, it actually has a name in psychology, the individuation process. It's the conscious choice to separate your true self from the mass consciousness. It means you have to actively question all the roles and messages that society throws at you so you can discover who you really are. And that is an absolutely vital tool for critical thinking. And get this, there's this really fascinating, almost poetic detail here. The source notes that the spiritual meaning of the name Fatima is one who grows consciousness from an early age. It's just a beautiful way to reinforce this whole idea, that the path away from the crowd, it starts with waking up your own unique consciousness. And so this really leaves us with a question for you. Think about it. You are constantly being hit with mass messaging from tradition, from propaganda, from a global advertising industry. They all want to tell you who you are. The real challenge and the greatest journey is filtering out all that noise and deciding for yourself who you're going to be.